I thank Lord Mayor Wolf for her very kind words. I'm deeply honored and yet humbled. I'd like to dedicate this award to the people of Singapore who have worked so hard to build this nation. Special credit must go to our pioneer generation, who dreamt of a far better Singapore when we became independent and took us a long way along the journey there. This award also reflects the long and close friendship between London and Singapore and between our peoples. I'm therefore happy that my colleagues and friends are here to share this occasion with me. I first visited London in 1969. I was a teenager and London seemed marvelous. It was the swinging 60s and London was the capital of cool. Yet it was also a time of upheaval. Protests against the Vietnam War, student sit-ins, hippies, and flower power. I had an enjoyable but sober time, attending plays and concerts, exploring museums and art galleries, and spending hours browsing in the greatest bookshop in the world, Foyles. Later, I went to university, not in London, but in Cambridge, then still in splendid isolation in the Fens. But I would visit London regularly because my late first wife, Ming Yang, was then a medical student at the Middlesex Hospital. Hence, London in the early 1970s held many happy memories for me. But for Londoners and for Britain, those were difficult times. The British Empire was over, and Britain was adjusting to its new place in the world. Bitter union disputes afflicted the economy and disrupted lives. I especially remember the miners' strikes because the consequent blackouts caused me to attend supervisions in Cambridge by candlelight. Global events were also affecting the British economy. One year, I arrived at Heathrow Airport, having spent the summer back home. I found a group of Arabs excitedly trying to find out what was happening in the Middle East. The Yom Kippur War had broken out. It led to the first OPEC oil shock, which caused inflation and recession worldwide. This worsened England's woes and cast a pall over London for years. But by the end of the decade, the situation and the mood improved. Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister in 1979. Thatcher's reforms were fiercely contested, but they fundamentally altered Britain's economy and society. Britain's victory in the Falklands War in 1982 boosted national pride and restored belief in your people. That year, my father, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, became an honorary freeman of the city. In his speech, he spoke of his experiences of London since World War II and challenged Britain to draw on the spirit of the Falklands War to rejuvenate and transform itself. And so Britain did. In the decades that followed, Thatcher and her successors from both parties oversaw a steady revival in Britain's fortunes. Britain outperformed many continental economies, reversing the situation in the 60s and 70s. Optimism returned, and Britain's international standing rose. Even more than the rest of Britain, London did well and emerged as one of the world's greatest cities. It attracted talent and capital from many countries and rejuvenated its urban and cultural landscape. London was cool again. A big factor in London's resurgence was financial services. London had long been a financial center, but by the 1980s, banking was changing. New technology, ingenious new approaches to risk, to credit, to derivatives, and freer capital flows were transforming the business. London responded faster than most centers. It progressively deregulated and liberalized the industry, culminating in the Big Bang of 1986. Financial services took off, and became a major contributor to the British economy for the next 2 decades. The City of London became a cosmopolitan, vibrant center of world finance and wealth. These were decades when Singapore was developing rapidly too. Asia was on the move, and we were lucky to catch the winds. We broadened our economic links beyond our old colonial connections to attract investments from Europe, from US and Japan, and to develop new markets in these countries. We seized opportunities in China and India as they opened up to the world. We integrated more closely with our Southeast Asian neighbors in ASEAN. At the same time, we continued to nurture and strengthen our historical friendship with Britain and with London, which is now stronger than ever. British companies like Rolls-Royce and GSK have made major investments in Singapore, while more Singaporean companies are investing in Britain. Temasek Holdings has decided to site its European office in London and will be opening it tomorrow. ComfortDelGro, a Singapore company, is operating buses and cabs in London. So now a Singaporean company has the knowledge. And our ties are not just about business. In May, Singapore will host a stage performance of one of Britain's most important cultural exports. Yes, Prime Minister. And Singaporeans now form one of the biggest foreign student contingents in Britain, despite our small population. Thousands of Singaporeans study, work, and live in Britain. In fact, tens of thousands of Singaporeans study and work and live here, which is why we are holding our Singapore Day this Saturday in Victoria Park. One trend we have tracked closely is London's emergence as a global financial center. Unlike London, Singapore has not always been a financial center. But after independence, we studied how London had carved itself out a role as a center for offshore US dollar business, servicing Europe. So Singapore started the Asian dollar market to service Asian countries around us, emulating London's euro dollar market. And that was how we became a financial center. By the late 90s, this strategy was reaching its limits. It was time for us to take another step forward. Again, London was our model. We felt that Singapore could be the Lund-Rich of the East, London plus Zurich. Hence, we liberalized our regulations, we opened up our markets, and we accepted more risks, but in a controlled way. But we were less experienced and established than London, and we had less margin to recover from any major setback. Therefore, we did not go as far as London did in letting go, which in hindsight was just as well. I was then responsible for the Monetary Authority of Singapore. So I often visited London to understand your thinking, to study how your system worked, and to explore how we could cooperate in financial services. I would visit not just the Square Mile, but also Canary Wharf, which had become a vibrant new center. So when Singapore built the Marina Bay Financial Center in our new downtown, we picked up many ideas from Canary Wharf, and thus fortunately avoided the early difficulties that Canary Wharf had encountered. Today, London is not just a financial hub, but a global city, a magnet for talent, innovation, and culture. Each time I visit, most recently in 2009, I feel the energy and the verve of the city. Were Wordsworth to visit Westminster Bridge today, he would surely sense that all that mighty heart is not lying still, but pulsing powerfully. London's global standing is an enormous advantage, both for itself and for Britain. But it also brings stresses and strains, higher property prices, challenges in social integration, and the nagging worry that London no longer feels like an English city. Singapore, too, is striving to be a global city. offering a high-quality living and cultural environment at the crossroads of East and West. Like London, we too must manage the stresses and strains of being a global city. But unlike London, we have no larger country, which is our hinterland. Our city is our country. Hence, we must get the balance just right between national identity and cosmopolitan openness, between free market competition and social solidarity. London and Singapore are now both at the crossroads. In London, financial services have brought you a long way since the Big Bang. But as is wont to happen, a good thing went too far, and after the global financial crisis, you've spent 6 lean years painfully putting things right. There has been much soul-searching about the future of the financial industry and even the role and ethics of bankers and banks. You must find a new operating model to remain a financial hub while avoiding the excesses of the past. More broadly, to thrive, London has to remain open and to continue welcoming talent, whether they're bankers or plumbers, whether they're from Europe or the rest of the world. For like all global cities, London depends on talent to stay ahead and to be globally competitive, and no lead is permanent. Singapore, too, is making our way forward. We are pursuing economic growth based on productivity and innovation in order to uplift our people's lives. We are sparing no effort to educate Singaporeans, both the young and those already working. We are addressing growing social needs while maintaining our drive and elan. The opportunities are all around us as Asia continues to rise. We strive to stay cohesive and united as we continue pursuing excellence so that we can stay up there with London and the other top cities in the world. I'm optimistic that London will grow from strength to strength with quintessential British resourcefulness and resolve. And I'm equally confident that we in Singapore will build a brighter future for ourselves and for our children. Singapore and London are two cities, perched off the shores of two continents, but connected by an intertwined history and many personal ties and friendships. As your youngest freeman, I look forward to building on our close and long-standing friendship so that this happy tale of two cities will long endure. Let me end this speech with a toast to the Lord Mayor and the City of London Corporation. To the Lord Mayor and the City of London Corporation.